this. We'll move on to English.
Suzie Collier, an internationally renowned conductor, violinist, and teacher, is celebrated for her exceptional talent and ability to inspire both students and audiences worldwide. Fresh from her acclaimed performances with the Britten Symphonia at the Bristol Beacon and the Barbican in London, Suzie is excited to return to the podium as a guest conductor with esteemed orchestras across the U.S. later this year. In addition to her upcoming U.S. engagements, she has conducted recording sessions for Jacob Collier's Jessie Volume 4 album in Amsterdam with the Metropole Orchestra and for Stormy's orchestral version of Fire Babe at the iconic Abbey Road Studios in London. She continues to bring her dynamic artistry and deep musical intuition to new audiences, inspiring musicians and listeners alike. For over 3 decades, she conducted the chamber orchestra at the Royal Academy of Music Junior Department, enabling countless musicians to reach their full potential. And Suzie has also been a featured artist at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles. As a freelance violinist, she has performed with renowned orchestras worldwide, played at the BBC proms, and frequently collaborates with her son, 7-time Grammy Award winner, Jacob Collier. She has been a guest on the Jules Holland tour and performed alongside the Jason Max Ferdinand Singers as a concertmaster.
Through Suzie Explores, she shares her singular approach to music with people across the globe. She hosts creativity retreats, imparting her extensive knowledge and unique insights to musicians and non-musicians alike. She also gives masterclasses at prestigious institutions such as the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, the Royal Academy of Music, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles. Additionally, Suzie hosts her own podcast, Suzie Explores, where she engaged with internationally acclaimed musicians to delve into her thoughts on music and life. Her illustrious guests have included Quincy Jones, Yo-Yo Ma, Chris Thile, Nicola Benedetti, and Steve Vai. In recognition for her outstanding contributions to the music profession, Suzie has been made a Fellow of the Royal Academy of Music. Please help us in welcoming Suzie Collier.
It's so lovely. It's so lovely to see you today. It's so lovely to be here right now. And I know that if I think about Valencia, I think the sun is going to be shining, the sky is going to be blue. And actually, it's okay that those things aren't there right now, because really, truly, the warmth of the room is really apparent. And it's just so lovely to share this space with you. So I do believe that there are some questions, and I do believe that you've had something to do with this. So how's it all going to work?
So we're going to just go a little bit conversation-like. We have a bit of a script, but we're happy to improvise. You know, we like to do that. And we're also going to have, I think there's a QR for all of you also to vote on certain questions. There you are. So we have some up there, so if you have anything burning, you know, that's the place to submit, okay? Yeah, so the panel, as everybody knows, is Anyone Can Music, and I think it's a fantastic title that kind of brings us to the situation here about multiple ways of entering the music industry, and I just wanted to bring to you a little bit, what are your thoughts on the pros and cons of having a strong musical tradition at home, such as yourself, and versus also people who are coming completely straight into the industry, maybe with no family support, without knowledge and discovering music by themselves. Pros and cons?
Well, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because you'd think, logically, that it's the most wonderful thing to have family who have got a history of being in music. But I think that when you talk about family support, family and friend and colleague support can happen no matter what you do in your life. So it can be really refreshing being a musician just starting out with no one around you being a musician, because actually maybe it's easier to get away from judgment or comparison and things like that are very complicated. But if you do have a family tradition, that can be really rich indeed, and I'm very lucky to be sandwiched in a pile of historic tradition, because my parents were both violinists, And I think you know who my son is, and my daughters are very, very musical as well. So I feel I'm in the middle of this beautiful sandwich. And that's great, but it's not necessary. I think one of the things that really excited me when you said this is going to be the theme for this year is because I feel to the core that it's the most important thing that anybody in this room, and in fact anybody in the world who really wants to have some kind of access point into music, you can do. And you don't have to have a certain kind of education, you don't have to have a certain amount of money, but you need opportunity to be able to be in the world and to experience music in so many different ways. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely does. Thank you so much. Cheers.
I have a question. I think we're all wondering, as it applies to ourselves and, all musicians alike, in your practice, in your personal practice, musical or otherwise, I'm wondering what keeps you grounded, throughout all your endeavors?
Endeavors is a really good word. So endeavors meaning anything that you're doing, anything that you're wanting to do, anything that you're embracing, anything that you're loving doing, anything that you're worried about doing, they're all your endeavors. And so whether that means that you're going to stand up and solo right now over chords that you don't know, or whether it's speaking to a group of people or ordering a coffee from a local barista, they are all your endeavors. And I think if you can take the best part of yourself into all those situations, the most genuine part of yourself and the most present part of yourself, then you've got the best chance of being grounded. Because you're really in the moment, whether it's ordering the coffee, doing the solo, or whatever it happens to be. So, in essence, I feel that it doesn't matter where you consume your music, or where you experience your music, or how you do your music. How you are as a human being in the world is the most important thing. So if you can take the most grounded part of yourself by being in the present, no matter what you're doing, and not worried too much about what's just happened or what's going to happen next, then I think we have the best chance of being grounded with whatever we do.
That's beautiful, and I totally concur.
Thank you.
There was a very nice episode that you had on Susie Explores with Quincy Jones, and I really recommend everybody to see it if you haven't. And I love there's a quote that he says that success is, the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. And I thought that was really insightful. I work in the Career Center at Berkeley, so one of our responsibilities is, so helping and supporting and guiding students into, what we call success or in the profession. I wanted to hear a little bit, how do you see mentorship and how do you guide young musicians, and what qualities do you think are essential for a healthy, long-term creative life?
Oh, there are loads of questions in here.
Sorry.
No, I think what's really interesting is, if you take a question like this, it's a bit like looking at a whole song for the first time. And what you can do is you can listen to the song and you can allow it to just wash over you, and you take away the things that resonate with you. Or else what you can do with the song is you can say, I can hear it's divided into different sections. Okay, so we started off with this idea, and then we went into this idea, and then it moved into something different. So I can take this question in several ways, but actually, I quite like to divide it up a little bit. So what was the first section of what you said?
So I think referring to Quincy's, success before work.
Success is before work, and that's the only term that actually happens is in the dictionary. Yeah. I think that if we're really talking about what success means to each and every one of you in here, and each and every person in the world, we've got our own journey, our own bespoke journey. Our journey is only our own. So what is successful in one person's life may not feel so successful in another person's life. And I think that whenever you have the privilege of mentoring or teaching another human being, what you're trying to do is to enable them to understand what their version of success really is. So if I was to have a conversation with every one of you in this room, and I'd say, what do you think success is to you right now? I wonder what you'd say. But the guys have only given me an hour, so I can't speak to anybody at all without kind of excluding everybody else. But if there is anybody here who feels like saying, success to me right now is whatever, then put your hand in the air.
Come on.
You don't have to. And that could be because what I feel in my heart is if I was asked that question, I would not know what to say. And there are a lot of reasons for it, so thank you for not putting up your hands. It was exactly what I'd hoped would happen. So, you could put your hand in the air, and as mum, you could be saying, success is if my child is sitting still and is looking forward. But I've already had contact with you, and I've said it's fine. You can speak, you can jump up and down, you can move around, and that's absolutely fine. So I could say, I don't think that is the idea of success. I think the idea of success is freedom to be able to, as long as it's respectful, to move around and do what you want. You could say, success to you was getting up this morning and actually motivating yourself to be in this room right now. And that's great, because that's success for right now. But when you're mentoring and when you're teaching people, try and really listen to their needs. So the people you are speaking to, the people you are mentoring, they are the people you need to be listening to. Don't go into a situation thinking, I have to say A, B, and C to these people, because if I say that, then they're going to come out as complete human beings and really successful in the world. Because if you have that goal, it's probably not going to work. So your aim, I think, as a teacher or mentor or friend or family member or lover, whoever you are, you've got to learn how to listen. Once you've really heard what somebody else's needs are, then I think you can respond. And you can say, right, bearing in mind you feel this, maybe we're not going to do scales today. Maybe we're going to do a bit of improvisation. Maybe we're going to look at something completely different. Or maybe we're just going to talk about life. And all those things are all right, because it puts you on a level with that other person. And I just think it's so important when you're teaching, mentoring, loving another human being, that the first thing you do is to listen.
My next question was going to ask you about what success means to you, but I won't ask that. Instead, I will say that's a really holistic, wholesome point of view to have on success. And I'm wondering, was that always your point of view? And did it change over time at all? Did it take time to get to this perspective?
I remember there was a turning point. I guess I must have been about 19. I was a full-time student at the Royal Academy of Music, where my dad taught, and I was having a good time. And I remember entering a competition and getting through that first round and thinking, that's really amazing. And I remember hearing other people around saying, right, you got to go in and you got to win this. You got to, put everybody else aside. You got to go in and win. And I remember there was just a moment which I don't think about very often, but it's come to me now, and I just felt that was not the most important thing at all. And that I was really lucky to have the opportunity to play that set of pieces again in front of a new audience, so I can either make it completely about me and my ego and about how I need to win and be the champion, or I can actually go in and really play as best as I can. And I think I can play or speak or be the best person when I'm not thinking about my own egocentric goals. Do you get it? So I think since that point, I've really begun to turn it around. And I'm lucky because I've had the chance to have 3 children. I love my children more than anybody else in the world. And they've always taught me so much. They really have. But I've always felt that if my version of success was about you have to be the best in the class, you have to get the topmost grades, because otherwise I'm not going to approve of you or love you as much, then I didn't think that was a good way to go. And I feel that all 3 of them have got a pretty good idea of success. And I think that when we feel that each of us is getting in a bit of a muddle or a squirrely squiggle about it all, then it's at that point that one of us says to the other, I think you can think about this in a different way. It's just about, again, it's coming back now to what you really do need right now. And what is success anyway? So yes, I think it has evolved, and it hasn't stopped evolving. I've got so much more to learn about what success means, but I think I'm on my way.
Thank you. Maybe also referring and putting success aside, but also in terms of like sustainability, like keeping a career, I don't want to use the word success, but like engaging, and that there's things happening that I'm wondering a little bit, what are the qualities that you think are important to keep that sustainability along, and how do you also look ahead to the next projects?
I like the idea of sustainability, and I think if I'm thinking about sustainability, I automatically think about diversity. Now, these are 2 very, very big words in our language, in the world right now. And if we're not careful, we can overuse them. We talk about, how sustainable, is my coffee cup, or, but there are so many other ways that we can be sustainable. So I wonder really what it means for me to bring in diversity into the same sentence. But it's a bit like when somebody says to you, hey mate, you've eaten the same meal every day for the past month. You could really do with eating some different food. And they say, but I like it. I like that food. It's great. I love it. Tortilla patatas every single day. But maybe, if you just listen to your body a bit more, it might say, I'd like a bit of diversity with the food. Let's have foods of different colors. Let's have foods that are in season. Let's try something different. And I think if we're thinking about sustainability in ourselves and each other and in the world, I think we've got to keep it fresh. So don't just think when somebody says, oh, well, we've got to think about sustainability to keep our world whole. Don't just turn off. I wonder what that word can really mean. It can mean 1,000 different ways that we can really be thinking about the world and how we're going to keep it going. But I think that's true for us as well. So don't do the same things every single day. If you've got the opportunity to say hello to somebody new, if you're feeling it and you feel you can, then do it. And I don't believe that you will ever regret that. You might get a rebuff with somebody ignoring you or giving you that kind of signal. But don't take it personally. You still reached out there, you're still connecting yourself to the world. So sustainability means diversity and ultimately connection. So if you keep something fresh in your life every day, and that could be going outside and breathing new air, that's great. But you're going to sustain the energy that you need to be an artist and a human being in this world. And as far as diversity is concerned, remember that that means diversity of music too. So if you just say, I listen to this and I listen to it all the time, that's great. But just make sure that you're opening your ears and you're opening your eyes and all your senses to all the other music that is out there. And if you approach that without a lack of judgment, I feel honestly that you'll be sustaining yourself and feeding yourself as well as everybody else.
Love it, Susie. If you permit, I actually resonated with a quote that came to mind, which is, I think it was Einstein who was saying, like, if you take the same approach every time and expect different results. So I think it aligns really nicely with what you're talking about, diversity as a key to sustainability. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that quote. That's really good. That's so worth actually looking up. It really is. Now, have any questions come in from any of you guys?
Let me see. So remember, you can all vote on the QR as soon as you can. We have one that is, for now we have most votes on what are simple yet powerful ways anyone, regardless of musical background, can train their ear to hear and understand harmony better.
Okay, so all I want you to do is to just imagine that you're singing a beautiful note. You're not. You're being really, really quiet. You're going to be singing a really beautiful note. And you're imagining that that note feels really good and that that note fits in with what everybody else is thinking. So you're all imagining that you're singing this amazing note. You might have said to yourself, I don't sing very well. I wouldn't be making a nice sound at all. But that's not what this is about. You're imagining that you're singing a really, really beautiful note in there. Really lovely note. Anybody who can, sing me a C. Thank you very much. Lovely. Keep going. That's a lovely sound, isn't it? Now you can join in if you want. You can join in. Or you could sing this note. Oh, somebody's put in a B. Okay. So we got B, we got C, we got E. Got G in there now too. Thank you. Now, the thing is, either you felt that was a ghastly sound and you couldn't wait until it finished, or you thought, okay, I quite like this sound. Bring it on. Now, which one was it? Close your eyes, and if you wanted that sound to stop, close your eyes, and I want you to put your hand in the air, so it's a blind vote. If you wanted that sound to stop, put your hand in the air. Okay. If you wanted the sound to continue, put your hand in the air. Put your hands down. If you were happy for it to stop, just when it stops, put your hand in the air. Okay. Now listen, guys, I hope to see you later when we do a great big kind of collective kind of composition thing together, because we're going to do that. But you've got to realize that there is no right answer here. And I think that you all came up with the kind of the right answer. And I wonder whether that's what your heart was feeling. So no one voted for It's a Ghastly Sound, okay? Everybody voted for, yeah, bring it on, this can continue. But no one said that they were happy for it to stop at that moment. And I wonder whether that's true. Now, the reason why I ask that is that I think that if you're trying to really encourage your ear to hear properly, you've got to be really truthful with yourself. And actually, I was quite happy for it to finish at that point, partly because I know we're going to do so much more singing tonight, and it was just different for me. But maybe some of you were also feeling, it's okay to finish this right now. I don't know. But when you're making that sound, when you're engaging with the subject of how long to make a sound and whether to change a sound, you've got to really be truthful and you've got to really listen to yourself within the scope of being with other people. And what was really rich was we started with one note, we added another, and then we found that there were two more notes that came in that made it a really, really rich harmony. I could talk to you about that chord, but the most important thing that I think you need if you want to increase your harmonic awareness is to find out what you like. Put the C down again. Put the E in there. Put the B in there again. Put the G in. Okay, so keep it going. So what we've got quite a rich chord. But what I want to show you is take away the B. Now we've got C, E, G. It's a different kind of a feel. So if I said to you, I wonder what color it is when we have the B in there. Put the B back in. So we've got la ba bum boom. I wonder what kind of color that is. Anybody got a suggestion? There's no right answer. Anybody feeling a color? Go. Thank you so much. That's purple. I think I'm going to agree with you. Sing up. La 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 loom. Sing up. Now take away the B. La la lum. Take away that note. Don't sing that note. Just la la lum. Beautiful. What colour's that? Go. There we go. Now, thank you, orange and purple. That's so nice. We must say hello later. You might not see your harmony in colour. You might not think about certain foods when you hear notes. You might not feel a certain temperature when you hear certain notes. But I suggest that you open your senses and be really, really encouraging to them to find a way of remembering how notes feel. Because actually we had a beautiful major chord, it felt quite bright in there, and then we had the darkness of the B in there that was so interesting. But basically all it was notes in a scale. Notes in a scale that we just picked out and we put together. Which ones do you like and why? And that will really, really encourage you to then get on to the next level of perhaps how you want to combine every note together. And then what you want to follow it with. Or I've made this chord a cluster of notes. What can I follow it with? Let's dare and see what happens. Okay? There'll be so much of this later, and we really will be actually doing it. So I so hope to see you then. Any more?
We do, thank you. People want to know also what it's like to perform with your beloved son, Jacob, and how do you channel personal emotion into a performance?
That's a really beautiful question. Thank you. We don't have to channel anything to perform together. We don't have to concentrate on connecting. We just have to allow the music to come out and be open to it being different from what we thought it would be. And I think I can say that because we just have an innate closeness that means that we have always made music together all the way through, and we don't have to do a certain thing in order to make it happen on a stage. A really good example of that was at the O2 back in December. I don't know if any of you were at the O2. Anybody at the O2? That's quite a long way to go, isn't it? But the O2 is a very, very big place, and so what we thought was we'd have the main stage, and we'd have a little stage. And we could have connected it with a catwalk. We thought, no, we won't do that. We'll just literally have this little island. And so I remember thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be after Chris Martin, so I better get to the right part of the great big arena now. And they took me backstage, and I went through all these corridors, and then I landed and ended up being at the small stage, where it felt so intimate and so cozy. I just forgot where I was. And I went on stage, and I joined Jacob, and we played What a Wonderful World. And in fact, all this footage is coming out as one great big piece, so you'll all be able to see the whole of the O2 gig, which I'm really excited about. And afterwards, my daughters showed me pictures of, where we were, and I said I had no idea how big it was, because I felt we were just in our own space, just being open enough to communicate. And to that effect, there are no nerves, there's no worry, it's just, you go out there and you just be. You've done your thinking, you've got your violin there, well then, just let it come out. And connect with the other person, and then you might give it out to the audience. And after all, I think that's the aim. So although I felt that we were on a very small island communicating together, it was all about giving that energy outwards to everybody who was there. So it's a great privilege to perform with him. I love it every time, and every time it's different. But we don't have to do anything special to make it happen.
Thank you, Susie. We also have what kind of musical collaborations do you hope to explore in the future?
Collaboration is a funny word, isn't it? What do you feel when the word collaboration is used? Do you feel pressurized? Or do you just feel excited? Or you definitely nodded. So what's in your mind? What are you thinking?
So for me, collaboration, it's work, and people put money in that word. So I just kind of hate that word, like collaboration in the industry, because it's like, I'm talking about social media, because outside of it, like the pure sense of that word is amazing. I just feel like it's a word that it's been,
Thank you so much for your honesty and for actually answering the question. I really do appreciate that. I think collaboration is another word that if we're not careful, we get a bit kind of, oh, it's that word again. Oh no, what do I say? Well, I'm at a party and I'm holding a glass and I need to be really impressive. So, well, actually, I just want to collaborate with Beyonce and whoever it happens to be. I just think we can come out with the things that we think that we ought to be saying. And I think there is so much pressure in the industry to say that you want to be, or that you are, or that you have collaborated with various people. But actually, it's not about who you collaborate with. It's about enabling that musical magic to come out with anybody you're with. Whether they seem super big and important and incredibly famous in the world, or whether nobody has heard of them, but you can actually sense some goldenness. Isn't it terrible when you hear a tune, you hear something, and you think, that's really great, you just Shazammed it, and you think, this is banging, this is really great. Then you look at the album to just sort of see, how many listens has it had? How much judgment have you had when it sort of says, well, it's had 250 listens? Do you just think, oh, well, this must be a pile of rubbish. I didn't really like this in the first place. I don't want to collaborate with this person. How many times has that happened? It's really damning, isn't it? But I can't say that I've never looked at how many views or how many listens something has had, because I am a human. But I'm really working very hard to just feel that it's not an important issue at all, and I feel that I'm there. I feel that whoever I meet right now, and all of you, and whoever I meet later, I don't care what you've done or what you're going to do in the future. I don't care who you have collaborated with or who you're hoping to. But on the purity side, I'm going to say to you that I take your question with love in my heart. And I'm going to say that there are so many more people I'd like to collaborate with. And most of them, I don't know who they are yet. But I definitely want to do more work with the mandolin player, Chris Thiele, because we've got a real magic together. So we've got some orchestral concerts with Jacob later on in the year. And I want to be collaborating with more people in that kind of situation, in the conducting situation. But I think even doing my podcast, I'm collaborating with people. People are very kindly saying, yeah, I'll do your podcast. That sounds fun. And that's collaboration. It's a collaboration of trust in there. And so if I come across as being, I'm big and important, so do you want to collaborate with me? The big word that you need to get rid of is so. And also, I'm a big and important person. So let's rub those out now. And all that is left is, I'd like to collaborate with you. And that to me feels a lot more pure. But can we escape it in our world of social media and everything? Well, no, we have to live within it, don't we? So be realistic in terms of what you're hoping for. And as far as what I'm hoping for, I know that there are so many more people in this world I'm just going to meet, and it's just going to just happen. And I'm going to want to do it. So I'm very open-ended here, and I cannot wait to embrace more. And, there are more people coming on my podcast who are so exciting, who I've had contact with, or I may have met them just briefly as a gig, but I've never had a proper conversation. That, to me, is collaboration. But if I use it to my own end and make it, into it's all about me and the questions that I have to ask you, then it becomes less of collaboration and something much more to do with power. Think about that the next time you collaborate with somebody. Who's got the power? Because the idea is really that neither of you have the power. You're equal.
Beautiful pearls of wisdom, Suzie. Thank you for sharing. We have one that is more maybe on the side of education. What do you think needs to happen in music education to make it more accessible and inclusive for everyone?
That's a really big thing. I want you to put your hand in the air if you enjoyed being, not here at Berkeley, but I'm talking about school before then. I want you to put your hand in the air if you enjoyed music lessons at school when you were in education in that way. Put your hand in the air if you did enjoy. Now, honestly, when I look at all you lot, the thing that really shocks me, thank you, put your hands down. The thing that truly shocks me is that we're not all going, yay, music lessons are the best. And I find that really, really tricky to navigate. And for years, I taught in schools, because if some of you know me, then you'll realise that that's the only way that certainly Jacob would go to school if I actually was there teaching. So I taught music in the classroom for quite a long time. And I felt that there needed to be a new rule book. And a new rule book is all about making sure that you're finding access points for each and everybody in your classroom, bearing in mind that they may have just listened to something that is really exciting them at the moment. So you find out what it is. You find out what makes that groove. You see whether you can make that groove in the classroom. You get other people when they say, well, Miss, can we listen to this now? And then you get half the classroom saying, no, you don't really like that band, do you? We've got to get rid of that. Because we have to be open when we educate to say that every music deserves to be heard. Every music deserves to be understood. It's just we don't understand it. Don't make a judgment. And I think if you can get rid of that judgment in the classroom, then you're beginning to turn around education to make it into a much more whole thing where each and every person feels, I've got a contribution to give. How many students have I had over the years of teaching at the Royal Academy of Music whose parents will say to me, oh, well, I'm useless. Don't ask me for an opinion about how my child has just played because I know nothing about music. And I'll say, I think you're the most valuable. How did that phrase make you feel? How did that performance move you? If we're going to change the way that education works, we've got to change it in our families, within our friendship groups, not just in schools, but however old or young you are, you've got a role to play. Because we have to change how society views equality in music, and also inclusivity, so that we are just making sure that every person can find a role and be involved. It's not just for certain people who are particularly gifted. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill struggle, because it is an uphill struggle, but it's so exciting. And every single person I have seen so far on my visit here, everybody seems so open and willing to try new things. Well, you are changing the world, and that's what we need to do. Besides that, I think we should be putting so much more funding into music education to bring opportunity to all.
First of all, completely agree. And this is kind of to go off on that previous question. I was watching you yesterday during the rehearsal, and it was amazing to see this open-ended environment, but also there was structure, to what the musicians were playing. And I'm wondering how you decide between structure and open-ended, teaching in your career as a teacher and even conducting.
Structured versus open-ended. Again, if we did a vote right now, and I said to you, who fancies a little task that is structured so you can feel safe in that structure? And who feels like an open-ended task where they're not really sure where they're going to be going, but we'll just see how it goes? I wonder what you'd say. Now be honest, and you can keep your eyes open. It's going to be interesting. Who feels right now that they're in the mood for a task that is structured and straight and kind of boundaried really in there? Put your hand in the air if you feel that. Thank you. Thank you. That's honest. Who feels like something more open-ended, where you don't really know where it's going to be going? Okay, that's really interesting. Now, there's lots of this later on. You just need to come back later on and we'll actually do all this. But I think what I want to say is it's not wrong to want a boundary, and it's not wrong to want structure. But I think my job, and any person's job who is in the beautiful role of enabling other people, you've got to find out and just see where people feel safest to be courageous and curious. And sometimes that happens from a place of structure. Do this thing, it's really quantifiable. I want you to clap this pattern and I want you to do it 4 times, then I want you to do this, and that's great. It's finite, it's understandable. You'll get in there, and then it might make you confident to do something different. Maybe that difference is being more structured again, or maybe it's being open-ended. If any of you have had an instrumental lesson in your life, then you'll know that when you walk into that lesson, sometimes you feel that dread of, is the teacher going to ask me something that they asked me to do and I just haven't done it? Are they going to ask me the scales that I'm not interested in, I don't want to do, and I really don't want to play now? Because I think if you're going in with that kind of fear, which I think we all have done, it's pretty sad, right? Because what's happening is that we're wasting a lot of lesson just thinking, oh, no, please don't ask this horrible thing, no. But actually, I think if you're a teacher, you need to kind of see that fear and do something a little bit different. And you can bring that structure of the scales or the studies into something different. You can make it into something different. It's like coming back to the food thing. How many ways can you cook potato? Well, quite a lot. It doesn't just have to be tortilla patatas, right? So you've just got to find different ways that we can cook up some energy here. So we need structured, and we need free form, and we need all of that. And if we've got a beautiful mixture of those things in there, and the pace is changing all the time because you're listening to your audience and you're listening to the people you're ministering to, then the energy will keep going. But if you say, right, we're going to do this task for 20 minutes, I'm going to time you, and then after that we're going to do 10 minutes exactly of improvisation. And then after that we will have a 5-minute performance. I think sometimes it's necessary because, it's a structure that you're going into. But I think that the best way to make music is to be really flexible and to go in and out of structure versus free form. Does that sound too wishy-washy, or do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand?
And actually, to continue on that, for maybe a parent who wants their music, their child to be inspired by music, for younger musicians, do you think that also applies to a parent of giving structure and open-ended ideas, or?
Absolutely. I'm sure there are many parents in the room, and there are all your parents who've tried their best to be the best parents they can. And you might look back and think, they were too strict with me. I wish I had a bit more freedom. Or you might say, goodness me, I'm so grateful that they actually said, keep at it. Keep at playing the saxophone. I think it's worth it. And a parent can't necessarily get it right the whole time. So it's a mixture of using your kind of worldwide wide age and wisdom to help you with what you're going to suggest to your child. But also, you've got to realize that maybe you're wrong. And maybe the child's wish to play something different and not the saxophone is going to be the absolute making. I'm thinking back actually to my podcast with Steve Vai guitarist. And he was taught the accordion, and he hated the accordion. Really, really hated it. Like, really hated it. And he couldn't wait to stop. And it was quite complicated because his teacher wanted him to continue and the parents wanted him to continue. And once he got hold of a guitar, there was no turning back. And he had the courage to say, I'm never playing the accordion again. Now, actually, I love the accordion, but I get it. Your parents start you off on an instrument thinking, yeah, you seem like you like that instrument, but it may not always stick. So be open to realizing that things change. Yeah, so bring that flexibility into your loving, into your parenting, into your friending, into your neighboring. You'll be amazed at what happens. Not, let's meet for coffee and I need to talk about this. Let's meet for coffee and see how we're both feeling and see whether we're going to get into that heavy subject that, you know, the elephant in the room. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Thank you, Susie. We're coming towards the end of the talk. I wanted to ask you if there was like one message that you would like to leave for everyone in the room, or an invitation, what would it be?
You've probably got a clue about how you'd like to leave this room today. You probably feel that you'd like to leave this room feeling full and complete and content, and maybe even a bit excited to go and experiment with a few things. But if that's going to happen, I think my one wish for you is that you remain open. Open to being curious. I've been wondering all this time what's going on outside, because there's quite a hubbub, there's quite a kind of vibe outside. See, now you're turning around to have a look. And that's because there are people out there and they're milling around and they're using this beautiful space out there. Be curious and allow yourself to experiment and dare with ideas throughout life and in your music. And if you can dare without fear, then you're really winning. If you can dare without saying, "Phew, I can't wear those shoes because some people might not like them." If you feel like wearing the shoes, you wear the shoes. Some people will like them, some people may not, and it just doesn't matter. If you don't take it personally, it's fine. It's all part of the fabric of just experimenting, being curious, and actually being fearless is easier than you think. It really is. And I really wish that for each and every one of you, that you will walk out of this place into the beautiful square outside and you'll feel, I'd like to try something, or I'd like to look at the trees in a new way, or I want to say hello to this person, or I want to come back for Susie's talk later, or I don't want to, I want to go to the beach, or I just need some alone time. Be curious enough to find out what you need, and you'll find it in this wonderful and complicated world that we live in. And if you bring that to your music, then you're really going to empower the world as well as yourselves. I hope that helps. It's really lovely to meet you all.
I want to add, and maybe I'm speaking for everyone, but thank you so much for your insight, for your wisdom, also for your courageousness. I think that's something that we see not only in your own lifestyle, but also in your family, and that's that curiosity. And I think those are big takeaways today. It's about being curious and fearless. And again, in the name of everyone, thank you for coming over to Valencia, to being with us, sharing this space in this beautiful center. And one more time, please, a big round, warm applause for Suzie Collier.
Muchísimas gracias a todos por estar aquí. En 25 minutos vamos a empezar con el Inno Concert. Tenemos a Paul Livasi, Anna Nor, Bela Blue, Suma, Mateo Fuentes,